Starting recording. Let me stop the transcription so folks can see. And then just out of courtesy, if possible, just mute your mic, or if you're on the phone, just make sure your phone is mute so that we could fully focus on our keynote speakers. Obviously, if you have questions, feel free to unmute or just raise your hand and we'll call on you, or type in the chat box. That way we can get to folks. And so with that, Chaplain, you also lead us off with prayer too, correct, Chap? So that way we don't have to. Excellent. All right. So trước nhất con xin kính chào Cha Thông. Those who don't know who he is, we'll talk about him in a second. Chúng con xin kính chào Cha Vinh, cũng như chào tất cả các anh chị huynh trưởng, huấn luyện viên và tất cả các thành phần trong phong trào trợ tá, or even some of our phụ huynh, hiệp sĩ trưởng thành, etc. It's such a joy for us to resume sinh hoạt already last year, but for this particular academic year, kicking off strong. And the town hall is really our effort annually, so that before we start sinh hoạt, we get everyone on page, inform everyone of some of the exciting things happening, challenges, resources, and ways that we can help and journey with you. But all of those are just secondary. The most important piece of every town hall that we gather together is really to impart spiritual nourishment, and no different than last year, and then this year we'll do the same. And in the spirit of the Eucharistic revival, to really put the Eucharist at the center, to love one another, and really what does it mean for us to embrace that love, that cross. So tonight, it is our joy and a blessing for all of us to have our keynote speaker here with us. Many of you may have known him, seen him around at the event in Liên đoàn Joan of Arc or Liên đoàn Sinai most recently, or many even chapter retreat where he's there. And when you're there, you definitely will notice a sense of holiness, a sense of personal connection. You know, I think I'm his half brother, half-sized brother. That is according to him at one of the talk. But he's a priest of the Legionaries of Christ, and he's been an ordained priest about 2 years now. While a young priest, but certainly not young in his love for Christ and the ways in which he can evangelize through living the faith. He's been in VEYM since he was 6 years old. Believe it or not, that is an illegal age, but because of the passion, he's there with us, and he's been with us ever since. And now he's currently assigned to a legionary community in Cincinnati, Ohio, and whenever time permits, really, we are blessed to have him to dedicate his time for us. And tonight, it's no different. So it's such a joy for us to have him here, and I'm sure that you will find him exciting, energetic, but also I think his depth, the knowledge in the faith and ways that he can move our hearts. So with no further ado, let us put our hand together, click on the reaction, the emoji, and what have you. Let us welcome Cha Vinh Pham. Hi, thank you, Cha. Take it away, Father.
Thank you. Let's start with a prayer here. In Cha và Con và Thánh Thần, Amen. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity of bringing us together. Though not physically close together, there's so much that unites us, so many desires, so many wants. We ask you to bless this conversation. We ask that you, through the Holy Spirit, activate our hearts, that whatever I may be speaking about, that you will be triggering each heart in their own particular way. It's you that ignites the heart, that moves each and every single one of us. We ask you for an open heart tonight. Make us soft and malleable, and see where you want to take us on this journey. We ask this as well with your Mother Mary. We want to pray, ask her to give her tender love, because many times if we can't make it through Christ, we can't make it through God. Mary is also that conduit, that beautiful conduit that also brings us. Let us enter into this one with that kính mừng. Kính mừng Maria, đầy ơn phúc Đức Chúa Trời ở cùng bà, và có phúc lợi hơn mọi người nữ. Và Giêsu con lòng bà gồm phúc lợi. Thánh Maria, Đức Mẹ Chúa Trời, cầu cho chúng con và kẻ có tội khi này và trong giờ lâm tử. Amen. In danh Cha và Con và Thánh Thần. Amen. Okay, so I think my timer technically started when I started the prayer. I'm going to ask everybody for a favor, okay? If you could, for those who are properly dressed and everything, could you just turn on your cameras? I know your mics will be off, but if you could turn on your cameras, it helps me a lot. Just because if you've worked with me, I am very interrelational, so it takes me, it helps a lot that I get to see your faces, okay? Okay, unfortunately, I don't get to hear you, but we'll start with that. And the whole time right here, I'm actually pretty nervous. I am. It's a lot of people on here, but I'm going to be holding in my hand Mary. It's actually got this from Our Lady of Fatima. And people who know me, they look at this Mary. It's like a little emoji. It's like it's just like me. So, it's my style. And so, as Young asked me to give us this talk here, he gave me the theme of the cross and the Eucharist. Well, that's the overarching theme, but I also needed to think about, but how does that address to the needs of the people I'm working with? I see some of you waving out there. And as I find myself, many times I go to Tuni events, and I just got back from a diocesan event with 220 diocesan vocation directors, and they actually have the exact same problem that I hear over and over in Tuni. And it's like, our numbers are going down, How are we going to bring in more vocations? And then how are we going to bring in more GECAM? It's like, it's the same scenario. And I see this in very different places. But at the same time, in those pockets where I do see hope, I also see there's a certain pattern I see over and over. And that's the pattern I want to share with you today, where some places aren't effective. And before I begin, I'm sorry about my voice. I went to 3 conferences in a row, and I lost my voice, and I feel physically fine, but I feel like my body is like, I'm so done with you. I'm just kind of like cutting off certain faculties, but I'm gonna try my best. Okay, so bear with me. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So the theme, especially going in with the Eucharistic revival, is going to be on, especially for us opening up this first year. Give me a second here. And the theme is, how are we going to bring back life? Pretty much life back into Tuni for GECAM. And I saw that. I want to use an example. There's an example.
You're muted, Charlie. Apologies, yeah.
Sorry, is that better? Perfect, good.
Yes, great.
Okay,
Thank you.
so it's kind of wild, but I did a couple years of my formation in Rome, and there's this place on the southern coast of Italy where it is just one of the most beautiful places I've ever experienced. And it's we try to keep their costs down. The place is very beautiful, but what they allow for the brothers to do, and sometimes we're 200 brothers. So every morning for 2 weeks, they give us a sandwich, some tuna in a can, goggles, flippers, and a backpack, and then you can bring whatever you want. But you go out there for about 9 days, and you don't come back until the sun goes down. So that means it's a whole lot of swimming. And so there's this mythical place that some brothers talk about. It's called the Blue Cave. And this Blue Cave, they say it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, but you have to trust the one who leads you. And it's asking a lot, because just to go to this Blue Cave, you have to swim in open ocean along like really tall cliffs for 25 minutes in open ocean. And then at one point, one of the brothers, and so when you go to this place, you have to be led by 2 brothers who've gone before. Because the first brother, he goes, after we swim for about 25 minutes, he gets to this point and he stops. And he says, this is it, this is where we are. And he goes down about 15 feet, maybe 20 feet, and he goes into the rock, the cliffside, for about another 20 feet, and then he just disappears. So the first brother goes, he disappears, and we have no idea if he's going to come out again. But what his job is, he's going to stay there, and he's going to, at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the cave, he's going to move his flippers, and then so that when we come in, we're going to be able to see his feet, and then we come up, we surface. Because if you surface any earlier, you're going to hit the rocks, and the rocks are razor sharp. And so some brothers have cut their head, and imagine you're 25 feet in open ocean and you're bleeding. There's sharks out there. It's crazy. So yes, a brother has gone up too early, cut his head, he's bled. Another brother had to go down, get him. But imagine swimming back 25 minutes with blood following you on your trail, and there's open ocean, there's sharks too. So this is the mystical cave we're called to enter into. So that first brother goes in, and the second brother goes, and he leads. And so the brothers who have never gone before just follow his flippers. All you do is follow his flippers because you have no idea where the entrance of this tunnel is. You just go 15 feet down and then you just disappear into the rock. And it is pitch black. So I've been training for a year. For years, I've been hearing about this. I've been training, going deeper and deeper and deeper and acclimating myself. I finally get to this point. I go down and then I'm following his flippers. After months of preparation, and as soon as he goes into the complete black, I turn around. There's no way I'm going into that cave. I can't see anything. I can't see a single thing. And so I turn around, and the other three brothers behind me that are following behind me, they bypass me and they enter into that darkness, and I don't see them. So I surface back in the ocean, and I feel like such a failure because I can't do it. I'm just too scared. And so that brother disappears, but he comes back to pick up the next four brothers to lead him into the cave. And he leads the next batch. And when the last batch goes, I have to go. If I don't go, one, I'll never be able to live it up with my brothers. Two, for myself, I've had so much excitement, all this legend talk, and now I can't go. So I go. I go into that pitch blackness, and I have no idea if the whole of that cave is this big or if it's the size of a house. I have no idea because it's completely black. So I follow him, and you just gotta hold your breath. I'm super scared. And you go down, and as soon as you go down deep enough into the darkness, and you're going for about 15 feet across underneath a rock, you look back, and it is a super bright coral blue opening. It's the size of a house. It is majestic. But that tunnel is very unique. When you go in, it's completely black. But when you look back, once you're inside, it's super bright. But you wouldn't know unless you've gone in. And so the thing is here, and once you're inside, the cave is dark, but when you splash the water, it's like crystal blue. And it's majestic. There's no way to explain this. You just kind of have to experience it yourself. But the story comes to mind to me, and I see this reoccurring over and over because the only way I was able to make it into that cave is because I trusted the ones who've gone before me. I went in blind. But I trusted the one who's gone before me. And so the example that I've seen many times with these different groups is the numbers are shrinking. It's like, why aren't we having more people? But then there are certain groups where they're growing. And then I took a survey of these people. Why are the numbers growing? It's like, how did you get called to this group? Or either Tioni or Quo Vadis or this diocese or that group? And it says, I don't know. I just followed another person. But what is it about this other person? It's something about that person that they have. They're convinced of something. It's not just about serving, but there's something deep inside of them. There's a conviction. And so they follow that person. And it's an example of life. And so, example, now we take it, let's bring it back for a second. Imagine if we're a Huynh Trưởng, and of course you're Huynh Trưởng, and we're working with các em, and you're teaching, you have all the theology, you study, and you give them, you leave and everything. But then on your social media, there's an incoherency with what you teach and what you have. Imagine you see another Huynh Trưởng who does the same thing. How credible is that other Huynh Trưởng? Not very. Well, on the contrary, there may be another Huynh Trưởng over there who doesn't teach at all, who's just simply a person who's very kind, who's very gentle, who's sacrificial, who's servicial, but they don't teach. The one who's actually a better example is so much more attractive. And that's the reason how I found my vocation. That's the same way many Huynh Trưởng are drawn and not drawn away from. It's the good examples, it's the happiness, it's the conviction. Now, what is that laid on? So I ask this universal question. Sometimes I work with high school. I promise you a lot of this is all connected. It'll come back towards the end. I work with high schoolers and university students who are your age. And I ask, a lot of them will ask me, how do I find the right person? How do I date the right person? Or so and so. So I return with another question. I say, what is love? Because that's what you're looking for. What you're looking for is love. And so I've done this a few times here. It's interesting when I have both the boyfriend and the girlfriend there. And When you're younger, sometimes they give the definition, love is with someone who makes me happy. And that sounds like a pretty fair question, a pretty fair answer. Love is when someone makes me happy. Or you can refer that to Tiongyi. I love Tiongyi insofar as Tiongyi makes me happy or fulfilled. Okay, that sounds kind of fair. But so you're saying when you're in a relationship with another person, I'm trying to find two props. I don't want to use Mary. uh, uh, Never mind. Let's just say, when you're in love, if the other person's always pleasing you, and when you're having an argument and you're disagreement, and you want the other person to please you, in all cases, in all situations, in all times, that's what this person's definition of love is. But if you think about it for a second and ask the question, are you willing to do that for somebody else? And sometimes they say no. Maybe I'm not really willing to always hold my tongue and be patient and be kind and hold my tongue for somebody else. So you want somebody else to be patient and kind towards you, but you don't want to do it for another person. And this is very common amongst high school, right? And so I say, okay, that sounds fair. And I gave this example at Linda and Sinai not too long ago. I said, okay, fine. Let's just say your definition of love is being with someone who makes you happy, but you're not really willing to make other people happy. So this is what I propose to you. Let's just talk about fairness for a second. If you want other people to make you happy, you can't do it for other people, then I think the person who you find to date should also be another selfish person, because that's what you're doing. You're selfish. You want others to serve you, but you don't want to serve them. Yeah, go find another girl who's also selfish. Go find another guy who's selfish, because don't go find someone who's very generous, who's very giving, because you should leave those for other people who are generous and who are giving. If you're selfish, only find other selfish people. That seems kind of harsh. But so there's something in here in this dynamic where it's about giving. I realize I want someone to give, but I don't give. So I just kind of bring that truth out there. And so that's why when we recognize someone who's giving, who's genuinely giving, sacrificial, and looks for nothing back in return, if you ever encounter people like that, it's very genuine. And so I was just at Linda and Sinai, and I don't know if Chicho was here, but I'm going to use her as an example. But I was asking some of the other gyms, why are you here? Why did you come to the Huynh Trưởng? And they said, I don't know, Chicho was just so happy. She loves us. And I asked around with many of the Winchos, and that was simply the reason. It wasn't because she was cool. It was because she's got a great idea. They said because she loves us. And I was watching her, and it really was. She had a sincere desire and love for the other ones, and it was so attractive. And when we recognize when someone loves us, they almost have the permission to do whatever they want. And that was exactly what happened in this case right here. And so the thing is, but we want it to be easy. And many of you guys out there go to the gym. Many of you guys go to work out, guys and girls too. But my younger brother, those of you who know my family, I have a younger brother who is a 3-time ninja warrior. So he's like, it's pretty awesome. He's been competed 3 times, but he's never made it on TV. But still, to make it onto the top 100, to make it onto the show is a lot. And he trains a lot. And my brother-in-law is a body double for The Rock. You know who The Rock is? The Rock. Yes, so he's huge. My brother-in-law is a black guy, so he's like a body double for him. So like they dress him to see if it fits, and then if it fits him, then it fits The Rock. So The Rock doesn't have to waste time trying on clothes. And then I have another brother who won a push-up contest. Most of you guys will appreciate this. He won a push-up contest. In 2 minutes, he did 107 push-ups, like full all the way down push-ups. It's a lot. And if you ask all of these, my 2 brothers, my brother-in-law, when they go to the gym, do they take it easy? No. They actually add on weights. They run longer distances every single time they train, because in order to get better, there has to be you have to add weights. It's the same in the physical life as it is in the spiritual life. If I want to be a kinder, more patient, more loving person, it's going to have to pass through some kind of difficulty. And in our language, we call it the cross. It's the cross. But I'm trying to bring that in here into this idea as well. That whole idea of the cross. So why is it that I've given this example I talked before, but imagine us going into a beautiful church, a massive, beautiful church, and everything's stained glass windows, and the nice pews, the nice altar, gold lining on everything. And at the very center of that church, you have this. See that? Well, maybe a little focus. It's a crucifix. It's a crucifix. I don't think you realize how weird it is to have a crucifix. And some of you right now, I'm sure you wear it on your neck. Imagine wearing on your neck. You have a necklace. I don't have a crucifix. I have Mary. I have two of Mary. But imagine on your necklace, you have an AK-47. Imagine on your necklace, you have a grenade or a guillotine or a coffin. Because actually, this is pretty much the same thing. This is a weapon of death. The crucifix. It's very strange. Where is Vinh going with all of this? When we speak about difficulty, when we speak about growing in the spiritual life, it's going to have to be rooted around something where we add weights. And sometimes we don't have to add it ourselves. God's going to apply it into our lives. And he applies it sometimes through the cross. That's what we use in our language of our faith. The difficulties that God may lay in front of your life. Like when you're trying to plan a camp or you're trying to plan a lesson and things don't go right. Things just fall apart. God's allowing you to experience a cross. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But he's allowing that cross in your life. And from the very beginning, even when Christ, he came, he could do whatever he wants. He really could do whatever when he could snap his fingers and make this world Catholic. But he doesn't. He gives us this thing called free will. This free will is the same free will that causes a person to be very selfish. It's the same free will that causes a person to be generous. And yet he came, instead of forcing us to love, he taught us how to love. And he says, I'm going to give myself to you. We see this over and over and over in the Gospels. Just like how Abraham brought his son up the mountain, Isaac, and he carried this wood on his shoulders to sacrifice his son. In the time of Jesus, God allowed his own son, Jesus Christ, to walk up Golgotha and carry the cross of his own sacrifice. Christ came, he was able to do whatever he wants, yet he allowed himself to be on the cross. That is the greatest lesson he could ever teach us. Now, go back. Think of all the relationships. Think of all the people you've dated. Are they the selfish people that you're attracted to? No. Are they the selfish friends that you're attracted to? No. It's those people that from time to time you see these resemblance where they take up their cross, and it takes up on the form of being kind to somebody else. It takes up in the form of not gossiping. It takes up in the form of not complaining or speaking highly of somebody else when nobody else is, or looking for the good in another person. This is all moments where like it hurts and I don't want to do it. But this in our everyday life, this is our cross, and he gives us so many opportunities. There really are no words to describe how sacrificial Christ is. And as if dying on the cross wasn't enough, he gave himself to us in the form of the Eucharist. So this morning, I stopped by a chapel, one of the chapels here in Cincinnati, and there was a sign outside. And it's a perpetual adoration chapel. So just to put you in this context, there are 24 hours in a day. In a week, there are 168 hours. In a year, 807,060 hours in 1 year. Well, this perpetual adoration chapel, Jesus has been fully publicly exposed for 113,888 hours. It's been exposed since the year 2000. Perpetual adoration. But Christ doesn't force us to be there with him. He invites us to come with him in order to teach us. Because many times, just like in a dating relationship, there's no way you're going to be able to go and just be sacrificial. But it's that spending time with Christ in the Eucharist, spending time with Christ genuinely in adoration, that you will be able to have the strength to be able to respond and be kind, be gentle, be generous with other people. So now I go all the way back to the story with the cave. If you've never experienced that intimacy with Christ, maybe you've never really entered into the cave. Maybe you've never really had people around you to lead you into that encounter. The analogy that I have here is really genuinely taking a dive into a relationship with Christ in the Eucharist. This was for me when I discovered what the Eucharist truly was. I was 25 years old. In that same year was when I discovered my faith, pretty much for the first time. And I was in Tiberia since the illegal age of 6. But to discover who God really was at age 25, it was like me swimming into this. I trust you. I truly believe you in the Eucharist. And once he allowed me to be able to see him, I look back and my life was completely different. It is as if I could see that huge blue opening that you have to first enter into that darkness. You have to trust him. There are many things that you Huynh Trưởng are going through. I try to speak with many of you as much as possible one-on-one, and you all have your stories. But many of you have also helped guide into entering into trusting Christ in the Eucharist. And very often you discover he is the answer. There is nothing that you cannot overcome. And so once you do discover him like that, you become an example to all the other ones, and you will take other ones with you. And maybe you can't see, I've tried, I've gone to adoration, and I just can't see it. We'll keep going farther in that darkness. I ask you, Huynh Trưởng, to trust. I was a Huynh Trưởng just like you. I still am một ngày là Huynh Trưởng, suốt đời là Huynh Trưởng. Trust me. He is the only answer to all of your problems. Go to him and trust him with what you have. He may allow you crosses in your life, he may not. But first trust him. And if he does allow you to have crosses in your life, that's how you're going to grow in your own spiritual life, your own holiness, and to be able to bring others with you. Okay? I know it's actually, I was going to rush in, there's not too much time in here, but I want to close with that. It's just to first encounter him, believe and trust, even though it seems dark. And sometimes it's even darker where you are because of the situation that you are, but just swim, just go and run and beg. Maybe sometimes it's in your desperation that he really wants you. And that's how he found me in my desperation. Go to him. And then hopefully, by God's grace, through that, you will be a person like how the brothers came back to me. It's like, brother, you have to come see this cave. You will have a conviction so strong that your life will be different once you encounter him. So thank you, Young, for giving me this opportunity for the 20 minutes. I think I'm right. I didn't really look at the clock, but that's my time in sharing my experience of the Eucharist and how it's the cross that brings us closer to him as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Father. Thank for the reminder of how much we're loved, how much we're truly loved by him. And in that love, a call to come together and to be united. And the ultimate unity is through the Eucharist. And I recalled you sharing as I sort of reflect through some of the difficult times that we have as Huynh Trưởng, as Đoàn Trưởng, as Đoàn Phó Quản trị Liên Đoàn Trưởng, and in my role, certainly there's always obstacle. And to have that faith that God is there with you, holding you, walking you through, and that when you make that leap of faith and when you turn back, truly you see the many blessings present. So thank you, Cha, for the reminder. We have a few minutes. I invite all of you, those who are on, if you have questions for Cha, comment, thoughts, please, by all means, either raise your hand and then unmute, and I'll call on you, or if you can type in the chat box, Father can help us with some of your thoughts or insight. Yeah, a couple comments. Thank you, Cha, from Tu, right? Any particular thoughts, reflection, comment, or questions for Cha for the things he have shared on the Eucharist, on the cross, and on our call to live that faith?
While you're thinking, I'll share a quick thought. It's something. It's the same reason why I've been invited to some places to share. It's on a very simple idea of khẩu hiệu thiếu nhi is cầu nguyện rất lễ hy sinh làm việc tông đồ. Those are the four. Cầu nguyện rất lễ hy sinh làm việc tông đồ. I share this very often, but I realized after coming back to thiếu nhi, 14 years of my formation, I came back and I found that làm việc tông đồ is everywhere. And all of your jai, all of your everything. There's a lot of làm việc tông đồ, and then, but at the same time, these Huynh Trưởng are the ones that are telling me, "Jam, I'm so burnt out. I can't do it anymore. I can't be anywhere. I just don't have any more time." And then it is true. If you start with this as number one, of course you're going to be burnt out, because our very movement is built on cầu nguyện rất lễ hy sinh làm việc tông đồ, not làm việc tông đồ. Rất lễ cầu nguyện. I mean, cầu nguyện is first. It is your relationship with God. It's really being founded on the Eucharist. This làm việc tông đồ should be the fruit of your relationship with Him, not the end goal. So if you're doing this without the proper base, of course you will burn yourself, because there's no roots. Imagine a tree that just grows really big, but it has no deep roots. It will fail. And so that's what I got to see. And I shared that with some of the Linduan before. Like, yeah, that's it is true. And I know Gatja have shared this as well too, but I see it so evidently. And many times I just help the Huynh to go backwards to the proper order. And the movement, we are a movement in English, so but we are approved by the Holy See, in Rome. And the Holy See has approved this particular order. Cầu nguyện rất lễ hy sinh làm việc tông đồ. So if you find yourself feeling burnt out, it may be because I'm doing this as my end, as my goal, as my purpose. And then maybe I'm lacking on this. Okay, so I just want to throw that out there while you might have come up with more questions.
Actually, that was one of the questions I was going to raise, but I think you covered it. Because a lot of times our Huynh Trưởng are saying, how can we do this day in, day out, week after week, with the burnt out? Not just Huynh Trưởng, Cha Phụ Huynh, and many others as well, as a brother, as a sister, continually doing the same thing over and over, service, volunteering, continue to give of ourselves nonstop. And at what point do we recognize? And thank you, Cha. Thank you. I think that was quite deep and profound to kind of recognize that the other three comes first, versus often we turn to that very last one as our mission, our go-to, instead of having the other three before. Thank you. All right, last call for folks on the line. Anyone? Chi had asked, Thưa, which is your go-to prayer when you face challenges or struggles?
Me? I showed her. It's not a joke. This is actually a very, very serious thing for me. And everyone, if you see me, if you meet me, I'm a very big person. So I look very big and strong, and like I'm very hefty and everything.
I can attest to that. He looked pretty big and tall.
But the truth is, I do feel like I have a lot of strength, but my strength comes from Mary. And I get to pick one picture to depict my faith. And it's this picture right here. And it's actually a picture of me and Mary. And why this is so beautiful is because even though I'm a Jah, even if I were a bishop, even if I were a pope, even if I were God, I'm not. But see, look, he's God, he's Jesus right here. Even God has a mother. And from that perspective, you don't have to worry about being strong. You don't have to be worrying about being the best Christian. You don't have to worry about being, you just have to worry about being a beloved son and daughter of God. That is the most important foundation, first and foremost. Why? Because if I lose that, if I lose sight of that, I start working thinking my worth comes from my service. But my worth actually comes from my sonship, my daughtership. So if you start here, you can't go wrong. And the truth is, you might not like this. In this context, it may come to a sense of humility to where sometimes you might have to say no. You may have to say no if you're incapable of doing that, because sometimes when you say yes, when you're incapable of doing it, you're giving something of yourself that's not the proper thing you're called to give. And but at the same time, if you're properly founded on this relationship with God, it'll give you a greater strength. You can go longer, and you can go, you want to go, you want to give yourself rather than I have to give myself. When you find yourself saying, gosh, why do I have to do this? You're not on a good direction. And when you find yourself saying, I want to be able to do this, what I am, that's a much better direction. And it's based on that foundation of of where you're founded first. I'm first and foremost a son and a daughter, not just a service, because that could lead into a pride and a whole nother thing. But I could talk about that for hours. But yeah, so my prayer, any prayer for me that goes to Mary, in my context to me, because I'm a guy, but you can go to God, you can go to Jesus. But so a prayer that brings me down to the level of sonship, or for you, daughter.
Thank you, Chad. Most of KKM today, whenever they hear it's Adoration Week, they dread it so much. How can we help KKM get more excited for adoration?
Okay, so I'll be the first to raise my hand because adoration is pretty boring too, because Jesus in the Eucharist doesn't talk. He just sits there, right? He doesn't do anything. So that's the truth. But the thing is, because we don't know, I'm not gonna ask for a show of hands, but I'm gonna say a fact right here. And usually Kyung-Yi, we're pretty good at this. Only 30%, from what a stat that I recently heard, only 30% of Catholics believe that the Eucharist is truly the body and blood of Jesus Christ. Truly, meaning this is actually Jesus as he is in heaven, as he was 2,000 years ago. It is really Jesus. So when I go to adoration now, I don't go see a piece of bread. I go to adoration, I'm accompanying a real person. So how often do we go with your friends and you just want to, sometimes with your friends, you have to study or something, just being in the same room is enough, right? So I invite you to go into adoration where Christ is in the same room, to where you share with him your heart. Speak with him. Speak with him. This, like you listening to me right now, Jesus is more real than this dialogue or monologue. Jesus is more real than the person, your mom or your dad in the other room. Go in that adoration, actually speak to him because he's there. And I challenge you to do it and wait. And allow him to speak. But the thing is, he's going to speak in a language that you've never spoken before. He's going to speak through your life, through your emotions, through your experiences, through the crosses, through other people coming in, through opportunities, closed doors in your life, and open windows in your life. But go and speak with him, and he will respond, I promise. Go and believe. To believe is a choice that you make. It's not just a grace. It's a choice that you go to believe somebody else. Just like how many of the things I'm saying right now, you've seen me on Wonders of the Mass, and it's like, I think Gavin's pretty credible, so I'm going to believe whatever he said. You made a choice to believe me. The next time you go into adoration, choose to believe that he really is the body and blood of Jesus Christ himself, and speak with him as the only person who genuinely knows you. There's nobody else in this entire world that knows you as he does, and all your worries and all the things you confessed, all the things you haven't confessed. He knows them, but he still loves you. And go and speak with him as a person who knows all of that, and he still waits for you. That's my invitation for you to approach adoration. Okay, and you said, start with you first. Because if you're not convinced, no one's going to follow you. Because it's so obvious. We pick it up all the time. If someone's convinced, they're going to speak about it. And we have this ability to read between the lines. You have to first be convinced. There's no fooling. And this is the reason why places are emptying out. Why are we getting more It's because you have to first be convinced that he really is Jesus. If I weren't convinced, I wouldn't be here today. And I followed others that have been convinced. And I'm trying to transmit that to you right now, even though I'm losing my voice. So that's my answer to you.
Wonderful, Father. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder and the challenge for all of us. We ourselves needs to have it first before we could invite KKM. All right, last question, Ja. Is there a good, easy book to read about the Eucharist from one of our Huynh Trưởng?
Ooh, I come from a very usually Brant preacher. What is his name here? Jesus and the Jewish roots of the Eucharist. It's not very theological, but it gives you the backing of kind of why that bread was so important to begin with. So the context of the book is you have to first understand that little boy right there. He's Jewish. You have to understand the Jewish culture to understand why he chose bread, why it's so important. So I really enjoyed that book. I recommend that. It's not for everybody, but I think it's a good book for most people. It's fairly easy, not super theological. It's very enjoyable. Let's start with that.
Well, thank you, Chad. Thank you for putting the time to join us and to journey with us. I know you just got back from another event. And again, I think it's a testament to your love and your support of the movement. And for those of you who have yet had the opportunity to learn from the Wanderers of the Mass, and I'll talk about it later on too. But Vinh and also Chad in Minneapolis, so between the two of them, they've been instrumental. And I've said this before, really changing the way that we understand the Mass and grow in love with the Mass. I think many times we've talked about we can't really fall in love if we don't know what is it that we're falling in love. And through the work of Chaplain, truly breaking down on sort of a very digestible level for our nhi, thiếu nhi, nghĩa sĩ, and hiệp sĩ to understand and to be able to grow closer in relationship with God through the wonders of the Mass. And so, Cha, not just for tonight, but for all the work that you've been doing for thiếu nhi in general, for your ministry, for the wonder of the Mass, and for all of your service to the VEYM, and particularly for tonight, from all of us, we are most grateful, we're most blessed, and may God continue to bless you always in the work that you do in the ministry. So everyone, shall we, this is our đêm tâm tình vỗ tay to Cha. And if you have access to the icon, go ahead and throw in a bunch of hearts and kisses and what have you. All right. Rồi, chúng con cảm ơn Cha Vinh thật nhiều nha. You're more than welcome to stay and join us for the rest of the town hall. But if you have other things to do, by all means. Yeah.
I'll stay for a little bit, actually.
Please do.
The one last 30 seconds. The Wonders of the Mass, I can't take credit for it because Liz, her team, Tilnyi, so many people put that thing together. I'm just a face. I'm just the facade. Okay. So there's so much work that goes in there. So I just want to give credit where credit is due.
Right.
And then, yeah, that's it.
No, definitely. There's a team behind. And I think you're quite humble in your ways, Chad, but it does take time from you, commitment for the entire year. It is not just a 1, 2, 3 minute time, but nonetheless, thank you. And piggyback from what Chaplain just shared early on, he had said, I might not like it. Actually, I am very much for it. If you're at the point where you're drained out and burnt out, and that you're not spiritually nourished, please make the time for that. If school or if it's family or other things get in the way. In fact, actually, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a talk with that VEYM Huynh Trưởng and says, you know what? School comes first. Employment, vocation, some of those other things come first. Thiếu will always be here. But if you're draining, you're struggling with school or with life and with everything else because so much of your time has been dedicated to you, find that balance. And so I'll be the first to say so. So don't feel like that. My response is always Thiếu. No, there's a balance that's needed, and more so your spiritual life. And I like it when he showed the picture for those who weren't at the VEYM Sinai event. One of our speakers sort of draw our attention to sort of Jesus and the human side of him, that he has a mother. So if you look at Jesus, any figure of Jesus, any image on the cross, you will see that he has a belly button. and many of us often overlook this. But then that belly button, it's where the umbilical cord is connected to. And so through that belly button, Jesus is connected to our Mother Mary. And it's through that cord Mary nourishes biologically, physically to Jesus. Again, reminding us of the human nature of God, and to have Mary as the one who could join us through our faith and be our bridge. All right. Again, so thank you, Father. Most grateful for you to have us here. All right. So let us continue on with our town hall and some of the information that we can pass on to you. So I'm going to share screen real quick here in a second so that we all can see. Often, because they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So let me go here, slideshow from the beginning. All right, and then let me know if you are seeing the slide once I share screen, okay? All right, can everyone see? Yes?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, we can.
Anh Dương, you're frozen.
That's the most I've ever seen in Jung hold still.
Anh Dương ơi, anh unmute á.
Yeah. I think there are some tech whiz in here who could really manipulate and control this and mute me along the way. So if you are, I'm going to ask for your mercy. Please don't mute. All right. Okay. Folks can hear me, right? Yes? We're back on track? All right. I apologize.
Yes.
I think I just got booted out for a second. All right. Let me share screen again one more time. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for your patience. All right, cool. Okay. All right, so just real quick, and feel free to raise the hand. Hiếu hoặc mọi người coi dùm if there's a hand somewhere that I could pause and then just answer the question. All right, so again, thank you all for joining in. The picture here is just from our recent VEYM USA Hội nghị Sinai Huấn Viên gathering. But first, before I start, I'd like to take a second for those of you who weren't there or weren't able to follow along. Please offer a very special prayer of thanksgiving and to give thanks to God for the blessing of having Chaplain who have served faithfully for the last 12 years, 2 terms, each term 6 years, as our general chaplain, Tổng Tương úy của Phong trào Thiếu nhi Thánh thể Việt Nam tại Hoa Kỳ, and his term has ended this most recent August. And with that, we're blessed to have with us our new general chaplain, who's also here with us, Cha Yuse Ngô Đình Thông from Dòng Chúa Cứu Thế, the Redemptorists, and also we're grateful and blessed for the Redemptorist community to assign Father Thông with us full-time as general chaplain. Prior to this, he has served as the assistant general chaplain, so he is here with us during here. So let us all give him a big hand and also a prayer of thanksgiving. All right, chúng con xin mời Cha Thông with your first welcoming remarks to our virtual community. Con xin mời Cha Thông.
Cảm ơn tất cả cảm ơn cha Vinh đã đến để mà giúp anh chị em một lần nữa cảm nhận được cái linh đạo của phong trào thánh thể là cầu nguyện kết hợp với Chúa, yêu mến Chúa và có lòng tin tưởng vào Chúa. Thật sự đó rất là cần thiết trong cái đời sống của một huynh trưởng. So cảm ơn cha Vinh. Thank you very much for your here with us and give us some really meaningful words about prayer, about trust, about love. So thank you very much. So cảm ơn tất cả các trưởng đã hiện diện trong tối hôm nay để mà chúng ta cùng đồng hành với nhau trong khi chúng ta bước vào một cái mùa học mới của phong trào Thiên Thánh Thể. Xin Chúa luôn chúc lành mỗi người chúng ta. So we may continue to work for unity among our phong trào. Thank you.
Amen. Rồi, chúng con xin cảm ơn cha. And as you journey along with us, you will then slowly hear too. Cha Tổng Thương úy Cha Thông will also announce the Phó Tổng Thương úy, the new Phó Tổng Thương úy, which that was his prior position, and also the formation of the Hội đồng lãnh đạo, the National Leadership Council, which then sort of drives the direction của phong trào. So with that, and for some of you, you may not know, Thiếu nhi Thánh thể, and as you're here restarting Thiếu nhi Thánh thể again, many of you would then meet with the parents, meet with the parish council, and this is your piece of information that really you can take to speak proudly of our movement and of the amazing work that we've done. So many of you may know, some of you may not. I find that many of you do not know that, as Chaplain had mentioned early on, that we've been approved and codified under the statutes of Rome as an official entity under the Holy See. So Pope Francis, who then appoints the international director of Thiếu nhi thánh thể toàn thế giới, and then that person then appoints the national director of every country. And so you can see there, Pope Francis with the Pope Worldwide Prayer Network, historically called Hội Tông Đồ Cầu Nguyện, the Apostleship of Prayer. Those of you who got through cấp 1, you know the history. But since then, he made Thiếu nhi thánh thể now has been 3 years. For those of you who may not know, 3 years now we've been official as an official entity with statutes codified in the governance of the Vatican at the Holy See. So that's pretty neat. So that's Father Fornos there standing next to our Holy Father. And then if you look at the Vatican website under the statutes of the Pope Worldwide Prayer Network, you will see Thiếu nhi thánh thể listed on there as a statute within it. And then this is, if you look at the date, I know it's a bit small, but I'll just read it. It's on August the 25th. So right after Chaplain has been officially sworn in as our new general chaplain, the letter from Rome came out appointing Chaplain officially as the U.S. national coordinator for all EYM, not just Thiếu nhi thánh thể Việt Nam, but any other ethnicity, any other community có Thiếu nhi thánh thể. Our general chaplain automatically is the general chaplain for that, so nationally. And I'll share the slides around to all your Huynh Trưởng, and they'll share it with you, so you have this, and we have this under our archive from Father Fornos from Rome. And here in the United States, as you know, we are also to recognize apostolic service through the USCCB, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. And so if you go on there into their list of approved directory, you will see Thiếu nhi thánh thể there as a listed entity, and we'll continue to work with them, partner with them. And along with that comes many benefits, many resources that we can implement for our VEYM. I know many of us have to do virtues. You will know now that when you select your virtues to submit for your diocese, for your parish, you will see Thiếu nhi thánh thể there listed as a separate entity. And so it may not be now, but as we continue to work to build this further, we can just go there and grab that instead of having you to submit your proof of virtues for your thăng cấp, for your SAMAC, etc. And so as we move forward in expanding and growing our movement, there are a lot of amazing things that we can do together, as Vinh has mentioned, in the spirit of unity together. So, and you know, every year at the plenary assembly with the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, Thiếu nhi thánh thể is requested to provide a status update of our movement to the bishop, which is quite phenomenal as we continue to grow in the movement to help evangelize here in the United States. At the last conference, which was just a couple weeks ago, our former Tổng thống úy cha Francis Vinh formally announced as the general chaplain then, where our VEYM is at the point now in our movement where major Catholic organizations, often they have what we call Episcopal advisor. These are bishops advocating, speaking on behalf of an organization and representing the organization in various venues and at the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. And so VEYM is now at that time where we're blessed to have our 3 new Episcopal advisors journeying with us. And these are just some of the photos from Sinh Hoạt. So the first is Bishop Larry Silva. As you can see there in the photos, he's not a stranger to Thiếu nhi thánh thể. He's been with VEYM and for the last who knows how many years as Bishop of Honolulu. And those who know, in Honolulu, we have a chapter there, Đoàn Thiếu nhi thánh thể ở bên Hawaii. And he's quite familiar with them. He knows them, he knows us, and he loves us. And these are just some of recent photos that he's with us, and including World Youth Day, where he was there. He is not only the Bishop of Honolulu, he is also the chairman for the subcommittee on Asian Pacific Islander. So any Asian ethnicity ministry within the United States, he is sort of oversees that at USCCB. And so he's graciously take that on to serve with us. And so we're blessed. And he was the one presiding the ceremony for our new general chaplain Chaplain installment last week. The second Episcopal advisor for our movement is the auxiliary bishop to the Diocese of Orange. So those of you in Linh Đồng sống here in the house, he is not a stranger to you all there. Đức cha Nguyễn Thái Thành, Thomas Nguyễn Thái Thành. So he has accepted the invitation to serve as our advisor and continue to work with our leadership council to represent us at various entities. And if you look at the bottom left, you can see him there in his Khang Cha Ui. So prior to him being ordained, He was already a thiếu nhi member journeying with us. And at the last Sinai event, you know, he said something that was quite profound, speaking to our liveliness or our movement here in the United States. At a major mass in San Jose to open a new church, he said the Vietnamese community in the United States has two hallmarks. One is the vocation, ơn gọi, whereas we're promoting a lot về những cái công việc ơn gọi của giáo hội. And then second, he said, is the Eucharistic youth movement. And that's quite telling in terms of all of the support, all the work that all of you do on the weekly basis tại đoàn all around Phong Trào. So this is some point that you can share when you have your meetings with Phụ Huynh, present some of the changes that we've seen here. And then the other is the auxiliary bishop to the Archdiocese of Atlanta. So those who in Liên đoàn Joan of Arc, there in the Atlanta area, you would know Bishop John Nhang Chung. Very down to earth, and as I call it, or Vinh call it, petite size. So he's literally my size, and but we're very genuine in a way. So some of those photos there from our recent gathering, he's there with us, journeying with us, and continue to communicate with all of us and finding ways to help Phong Trào move forward. And at the last Marian Day, Đại Thánh Mẫu, recently, when he presided Mass, and he speak very highly to the role of các anh chị huynh trưởng, all of you as youth leader have done to help các em sống đạo and to help the movement and our ethnic community. So we're blessed to have the three auxiliary bishops representing us. And so this is really historic for us as we move into the new era. And there too, while at Hội nghị Huấn luyện viên, just for a lot of your awareness, the Hội đồng lãnh đạo, the National Leadership Council, has make some amendment to the quy chế huấn luyện. That's a servant leader training manual. It dictates how your training cấp 1, cấp 2, cấp 3, huynh trưởng, etc. Are to be organized to meet with the need of the changing times. As you look and you see, not many go to cấp 3, but yet there's a need for our young huynh trưởng to take on leadership roles. And how do we work around that? How do we continue to have formation của các cấp as a spiritual growth formation versus something that's tied to a rank or a cup or a chức vụ, and people then often shy away. So many of these things are continually working on. So have patience, as that will be rolled out soon and it will change from that. Or over the summer here, point of joy, we complete our Sinai camp huấn luyện viên trung cấp with a class of about 20 new huấn luyện viên trung cấp, and Tiberia 17 in Goshen, Massachusetts, another 50, as some of you are on here. And now the next Tiberia 18, which is coming in October, invite all of you to share some prayers. I know Peter Công Nguyễn and some of you see yourself there and you got excited. That's good. There in Joan of Arc in Florida, there'll be another group of 60 huynh trưởng for cấp 3 there. And as you can see, what we do here is if there's a need, we will meet that need. Normally, we've only tổ chức một cái cấp 3 mà thôi annually. But now as a more committed young huynh trưởng stepping forward to serve, if there's a need, we'll continue to tổ chức cấp 2, cấp 3 as often as needed. All right. And then those who were there at World Youth Day, it was such a joy for all of us to be there. There were literally over 300 huynh trưởng from all around the world together, predominantly in the United States with 200, where we also met up with huynh trưởng from Vietnam, from France, from Canada, even Australia, and then Germany and Switzerland, I believe, or Denmark. They're starting to use Thánh Vietnam too. And so now with the relationship that we've had with USCCB, we're able to have churches and venues where we can gather and celebrate Mass. And so moving forward, every World Youth Day here onward, we'll be able to have our presence where we'll have gathering, we'll have Mass, we'll have catechism, etc. just with Thi Thánh Thể Vietnam. So it's quite a blessing. And it's also an opportunity that we can join with Thi Thánh Thể internationally from Egypt, from Africa, from Asia, and many other places. So we're quite a massive, giant family together. So it's pretty awesome there. So more to come. I believe the next 4-year Pope Francis has announced it will be in Korea. So save your money and practice your Korean hip hop and what have you. I hear a lot of people are planning to go there and then go to Vietnam afterwards. And so I'm sure we'll run into many of us there in the area. All right. Just an update. This project has been in the works for some times, but this is our home. Our home is complete. It is done. It is pretty much 95% or so paid off, and these are separate. Just their fundraising event. So a lot of kudos to Bang Tài Chánh and Trường Chị Biên and the Bang Tài Chánh team in fundraising this. And these are from your raffles recently. And so keep in mind, this is not one or two persons' home. It is our home, all of us, all Linh Đoàn, all Huynh Trưởng. So if you're in the area, you need a place to stay there. If you organize meeting or you have events, and we'll use this home of ours for training, for camps, which we have already been using, turning this into more of a training center, a retreat center, things that we can use to benefit the entire Phong Trào and to find other ways to cultivate growth in faith and to evangelize. So kudos to all of you. And this is a point of pride that we can take, that we do have a home as an organization that we could continue to support our ministry. So if you haven't been there yet, stop by California and visit. Pretty cool. The Facebook Giving Tuesday, for those of you who know, annually, we don't just talk the faith, but we also live the faith through our actions. So a lot of our charity works strictly from the Facebook Giving Tuesday. Whatever we get out of it, we put it completely 100% to a charity organization or a charity cause. Since the last term until now, we've done over 100,000 of charity work, whether it be to Haiti, to flood in Vietnam, to Somalia, to Ecuador. And most recently, last year, our Facebook Giving Tuesday, we raised 24,000 just on Facebook, and 100% of that went to a priest who is a Huynh Trưởng of ours in Joan of Arc, Cha Trường from dòng Ngôi Lời SVD, and where he is building a community of church for young children, starting a whole village. And it's remarkable what he's been able to do. And so you see there's a letter from the bishop in Thailand there, giving us thanks for the work that we've been able to do. And so that's credit to all of you. And this is when you can speak to parent of things that we've been able to do to cultivate our young people, not only to grow in faith, but also to live the faith through our actions. We implemented our first Maisen training camps. And so for those who are on, often you will learn that many times when you become Đoàn Trưởng for the first time, many of you do not know how to be a Đoàn Trưởng, what to do. Đoàn Phó Quản trị Nghiên huấn Thư ký, Thủ quỹ. And many of you have not yet been able to go to cấp 3, because that's a requirement. You need a cấp 3, and because there's not a lot of Đoàn who've had cấp 3 as Đoàn Trưởng Quản trị Nghiên huấn, we then lowered the rank, waived the rank to cấp 2. And if you haven't been to the training, you wouldn't know. So part of the work between Ban Nghiên huấn Trung ương, Ban Chấp hành Trung ương, and các anh chị is to put together a program where we focus strictly just on the how to and the what of running a Đoàn. And so this is not a camp, but this is a course. It's a 3-day course, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where you go there, you will learn exactly what a Đoàn Trưởng need to know from A to Z. For the minute you got elected and appointed, what are the steps you need to do? And we go through Quản trị Nghiên huấn Thư ký, Thủ quỹ, all the way down. And so everyone who attended this pilot program, everyone so far felt that this was 38 years overdue. We're at 39 years now, that this should have been in the works many, many years ago. And so we'll continue to do that. So now those who follow, this is one of the new requirements. And so I have announced it in May already. It won't be enacted into this coming May, but essentially after this May, any officer, meaning trong ban chấp hành của đoàn, liên đoàn, and trung ương, thư ký, thủ quỹ, ngành trưởng, đoàn trưởng, quản trị nghiên huấn, etc. You will have to go through this course. Once you go through the course, you get a certificate. It's good for 5 years. And then usually after 5 years, there may be some major changes and then you will have to renew. But as an officer, all the way up to Trung ương level, myself, chị Hiếu, anh Khánh, they'll have to go through it as well. And so far, we've seen the fruit of it. It's now when you know what to do, just kind of think about the spirit of unity. All 140 plus chapters all operate the same, manage the same, and are able to keep Phong Trào consistent. And that's how we'll continue to be able to go forward. And so the next one coming up will be around May. And so we'll try to set up the in-person will be around May. And all in-person moving forward will be free of charge. And so you just need to get yourself there. Programming, the SAMAC, the coursing itself will be covered for, because you are our officers and we're training you to support Phong Trào. In the fall, around November, we'll have the virtual course. So the virtual course is self-paced. You can learn online. And so because this is required implementing as this coming May, you would have to take it after you're elected. And so if you haven't done it in person, so I would invite you all go ahead and do it in person first, or if not, just take the online so that you have the certificate already, and they're good for 5 years. And so you can also take it anytime online. Okay, so talk with your Linh Đoàn Trưởng in that, or our announcement that we'll have as we keep on going forward. Okay, and if you have a lot of chapters around your Linh Đoàn, you maybe recommend to your Linh Đoàn to bring that to your Linh Đoàn. And if we bring it to your Linh Đoàn, it's easier for all the Đoàn to come. And however ways the Linh Đoàn want to manage that, that's up to them. But if Trung ương is hosting it, it is at no cost to everybody. Okay. All right. I see some hands, so maybe let's pause so that folks can can ask the questions first, and then we'll keep on going. These are good. All right. So I see Martin. Martin, go ahead. I see your hand. All right, so if not, I'll keep on going. Okay, and for those who follow along, it's quite a joy for us this past summer that for the first time, we've been able to host what we call our historic first national Chương trình Thăng Tiến tournament, or our national student curricular tournament. So many of you have known at the chapter level, các em ấu thiếu nghĩa hiệp sĩ, they go through the student curriculum, they go through Chương trình Thăng Tiến, and they have, and you know, as a mean to continue to motivate các em to garner more interest in learning, but also to live the faith, we've been able to roll this out. We'll be able to do this annually, and the Linh Đoàn will be able to host to kind of have các em kind of compete with one another in friendly atmosphere environment, and then ultimately at the end they get to represent the Linh Đoàn to come to headquarters and compete nationally. And those who are selected to come, their flights are paid for, their lodging are paid for, and their awards that they've been able to receive. And if you look at it, it's the category that we've been able to put together. And if you see some of the photos there, are the wonders of the Mass, to really know the Mass, and the weekly gospel. So those are the two core. And if you look at our mission, you know, the mission of Phong trào Thiên Thánh Thể, mục đích là giúp cho chúng ta sống lời Chúa, right? To live the word of God, and to get Him with you, to be united with God in the Eucharist. And so if you look at the Mass, it's the liturgy of the Word and the liturgy of the Eucharist, right? And so really those are the core, and that's what where our charism is on. So on top of that, we also have, you know, chuyên môn and sinh hoạt, ca hát, and other stuff for phong trào. So it was really exciting. We had 8 Linh Đoàn joining us, I believe, for this year. And so with this next coming year, we hope to have all 12 Linh Đoàn coming together. And if you were there, I just, you know, many of us were in tears to kind of see các em together, and in such a friendly, loving environment where they all support one another, but also to be able to demonstrate what they have learned and to show what we've been able to do. And so with that, for all of the Đoàn Trưởng in here, the next tournament coming up will be around May, towards the end of May. Usually we try to keep it after the school for the younger kids. It will be for các em nghĩa sĩ and hiệp sĩ, just as we've been doing. The plan initially was to do ấu and thiếu, but after piloting thiếu and nghĩa sĩ and hiệp sĩ, which is a lot of work to do with các em ấu nhi and having their parents, etc. And so we'll continue to do it again for ngành nghĩa sĩ and ngành hiệp sĩ. And the categories, the major category, the wonders of the Mass, the weekly gospel that we have, phong trào, whatever we covered trong phong trào in chuyên môn nút dây, and then other surprises category. But that will be what to focus on. So I encourage các đoàn to do the same. I'll meet with the Linh Đoàn and they'll host their event to elect the representative for the Linh Đoàn to send to headquarters. Okay, and then all the awards and all the jazzes, all of those will also be there. And so special thanks to the khối nghiên huấn của Ban Chấp hành Trung ương, Trưởng Khánh, and tất cả các ủy viên. They do a marvelous job in putting all of this together. And so I hope to see your I'm sorry, your nghĩa sĩ or your hiệp sĩ there for this coming year. It's quite exciting. And now as we're doing this, we're slowly getting more sort of coverage. Oh, and by the way, the winner, those 3, first, second, third, when usually the first, they get their photo frame and placed in the Hall of Fame under our headquarters office, so that later on when they become Huynh Trưởng, it will be memorialized for life. It's pretty cool, right? So that's happening there.
Anh Dương ơi, có
beginning this year, we've been piloting this for 2-3 years already, and we announced it the last couple of years. So this year, we're gonna hold everybody accountable for this. So as a Huynh Trưởng của phong trào, you have to be on our membership portal, right? And so we've communicated this 2-3 years now. We'll send this out again. You have
Anh Dương, are you on mute? Anh Dương ơi,
I don't think he hear us.
Anh Dương ơi.
You're on mute.
I got muted. Okay. Thank you, Peter. If I get muted, just wave, okay? I think I left off at the membership, right? Yes, okay.
Yes.
And so moving on this year, right? If you are a Huynh Trưởng of Phong Trào Thiên Nhiên Thánh Thể, so to be a member of VEYM, well, you need to be in the membership system, right? So if we go through the membership system, we don't see your name, meaning you've yet to register as a member. So it's very simple. There's no cost to this. Just register, get in, and you get validated as Huynh Trưởng Đoàn now, etc. It will help us significantly when we know where you're at, what rank you're at, what đoàn, and when you have your ban chấp hành, etc. All of those will be extremely helpful for us. And we piloted at the last Sinai Vinh. All of the name tags had their own info on there, and we pull it from the membership database system. And so now in matching with next year, but coming up, it will help us out significantly if all the information on there, registration will be a breeze, right? And so in doing things together in unity, let's work together and support one another, right? So that is the requirement. You need to have your membership profile up on our system, right? So that's there. All right, I see Joe with a hand. Hi, Joe. Well, Joe is one of our IT guy who helped us out tremendously in the past, and a former JP2 League of Chaplain president, right? My Joe.
I want to raise my hand. So we have 2 questions in the chat.
Or he's just waving.
Maisen.
All right, and then that's it. I don't know if anybody else has a hand. Okay, cool. All right, I'll move on. All right, and so you can see here, those of you, if you haven't seen this is what it'll look like. I'll have your profile, I'll have your info. You know, as you can see, VEYM with, 3,000 plus Huynh Trưởng, 25,000 members all around, 140 chapters, sort of like a corporation, a company. And so we need to have our management system up and running so that we can continue to hold our members accountable and to have good data reporting, good statistics as we look at ways to improve our phong trào. So khối quản trị and under IT, Trịnh Hiếu and all those under khối quản trị, they've been working around the clock, right? And so if you go on, it'll look something like this. It'll have info, it'll kind of help us kind of look through, and it also help, think about later on when you have new Huynh Trưởng joining your đoàn, whether or not they're in good standing or not, or if they belong to a different đoàn or somewhere, some other places, the information will help us out as we then look at the need of phong trào. So again, it is required beginning this year. We've been asking 3 years already, but this year we're going to begin to hold all of our members accountable. It doesn't take that long, right? We need everybody on, and then later on registration for đại hội, for sa mạc, for thăng cấp, and you will see all of it will be virtual. And so it is critical for you to be in the membership portal. I'll say it again. We need all of you in the membership portal. It is required. Okay. All right. Moving on. All right. And so with liability, with working with minors, with everything else that's going on, it's time for VEYM to also implement our code of conduct. Right. So our code of conduct, it's been out for 2 years now. But again, beginning this year, we're going to hold all of our members accountable. And the way to do this is very simple. You enroll in the membership portal, and as you go through it, you have to click acknowledging, understanding the code of conduct. Basically, how do you carry yourself as a Huynh Trưởng? Not just when you're wearing uniform, when you're not in uniform, how you handle with minors, when you work with the community, our responsibility to the uniform, to be united, our responsibility to the membership dues, and all of that we hold dear to our heart. So that is required now. Remember, you can't get promoted, you can't attend đại hội Bế Đức Hứa if you don't have a code of conduct signed, or if you don't have a profile in the membership portal. All right, so please do so. For those who are huấn luyện viên, youth leader trainers, and at the last C9 we already emphasized this, but there's a requirement for us to continue education credit, because if you are a teacher, you are huấn luyện viên, you're entrusted to go and represent us to train huấn luyện Huynh Trưởng all around. There's an expectation that you are current and up to date with phong trào. with what's going on, the information, etc. And the way to do so is to fulfill your requirement of the CPD, Continuing Professional Development. For those who are VEYM, please see the announcement. We already talked at length as to how to do it. With the grace of post-COVID, we started fresh for 2023. By 2026, we'll begin to hold our VEYM accountable. If you haven't done the CPD, you will not be renewed for your faculty. Then you won't have the opportunity to hold it. So please reach out, please follow. It is required. All right, and the last but not least, the promotion process. As of right now, many of us are still doing paper, which is the process now. So heads up, by the end of this year, we'll be going virtual with all of our thăng cấp process. You submit it, you initiate it virtually, it'll go to Sa Mạc Trưởng, then it'll route to your đoàn trưởng will go to Liên đoàn trưởng, and ultimately go to Trung ương. Many hours from our team in putting this together, and as you know, all the volunteers are free of charge. And so no, you cannot do this if you're not in our membership system. Okay. So please, one more time, please get on it. So we'll have another town hall to kind of give the overview of how to submit promotion process virtually. Okay, so that's more to come. So really excited with that. All right. As we transition to the Liên đoàn system, remember, no more meeting. It used to have meeting, and this has been about 2-3 years now. And so all of the Liên đoàn patches have been ordered. They're at the văn phòng. A memo will go out. I'm giving y'all the heads up that will be implemented by August of this year. So it's about September now. Basically, we'll give 1 year grace period for people to purchase it, implement it, get it, so that we can be united together in uniform. So if you're from your Liên đoàn, you have your Liên đoàn patch on. So the memo will go out officially. It will be implemented about a year from today. So it'll be in August, which means is by then we'll talk about Veda Khứa, is we need everybody to be in proper uniform code, right? So more to come on that, but that's already available at Văn phòng now. Folks can go there and grab that. All right. For all of the chapters, just a reminder, if you're hitting your historic 5, 10, 5 increment years, 10, 15, 20, and what have you, send an email to headquarters at VEYM.net through your Liên đoàn, let them know. We'll send a special plaque to you, and we'll come to celebrate with you. So member Ban chấp hành Trung ương will journey with you, and certainly your Ban chấp hành Liên đoàn will also already would have been there. And so any increment of 5, and this is a resource to you, to support you, and to journey with you along the way. These are just a couple photos, but if you go onto our VEYM.net website, every year we roll out 30 or so scholarships for our Huynh Trưởng to go to cấp 1, cấp 2, cấp 3, huấn luyện viên even some đại hội, where I know you're volunteering. I know many of us fork out a lot of our own money in support of the ministry. So this is a way for us to continue to support you. So we have about 30 scholarships or so. You know, I would say this, apply. Usually those who apply, they end up getting it. And so it does come in handy when you have to cover for that flight, the registration costs, or, you know, that meal after camp somewhere with your team, right? And so go out VEYM.net. It's due by the end of every year around December or January, I believe, and then we review it to grant it for the next academic training year. And so this past year, we had like 20 scholarships given out. So these are just some of the folks. Friendly reminder to do that. All right, the weekly gospel booklet, you can go onto our e-store and place the order, and that's for this academic year. These are the hard copy booklet. Certainly, they're free of charge for Phong Trào. We print this as a resource to help các em live the Word of God weekly. But the PDF copy, they're also on there already. If you go to our web, VEYM.net, it's on there. But the 2 links are here, and we'll share this. You can go to the e-store and place the order. Once you have the order, just make sure you fill in all the address and all the information so that we can have Văn phòng ship it to you. Donation is welcome. It's always welcome, regardless where or when. It doesn't have to be now, but it's always welcome. It does help us as we find ways to print these booklets to support các em. And as you know, the weekly gospel is a category, one of the core categories of the Chương trình Thăng Tiến tournament. Okay, all right. And then if you're on the web, this is something that we did last year and we'll continue to do this year. When you click on the PDF version, underneath it, you will see a red box that says activity. So a good sample here. We sort of stopped that for the summer because many đoàn không có sinh hoạt. But as we resume our September, actually it's September 10th, not the 9th, we updated it. You will see a red box as activity. If you click on it, it will give you an activity that would complement that gospel for that week. So between giáo dục siêu nhiên và tự nhiên, working with các em, and then there's an activity to help you to reinforce that message of the gospel. So our Huynh Trưởng team has been working pretty hard on it, and they'll continue to update that weekly. Yeah, so that's on there as a resource for you. So with all of that, the things that we've been able to do to support, to provide a resource to Phong Trào, friendly reminder that the announcement should be out that the membership dues for the new coming academic year 2023 to 2024, just as every year, is due November the 30th. As always, 5 goes to the Liên đoàn and 10 goes to the headquarters, and that's to support all the operation của Phong Trào. And knowing that Vertical is coming up, we have Maisen, we have chương trình Thăng Tiến tournament, we have scholarship, we have many other initiatives where we do give out a lot of prizes to support Phong Trào. And this is our way for all of us to be accountable for the Phong Trào collectively and continue to move forward. So keep an eye out for the announcement there. If you have any questions, if any đoàn struggle with challenges, please reach out, let us know. There's always a solution. We'll work with everyone to problem solve as needed. Okay. All right. Just a couple heads up, and every year it's quite a fun time when we hit Halloween. Well, we call it Holy Ween, and so keep an eye out. We'll continue with the tradition of promoting the life of the saints, and this year we'll focus on a different category of saints to help các em to really better come to understand the saints and grow in love with the life in which the saint lives, and ultimately our way to be united with Christ. So that's coming up. I'll talk about this real quick, and I'll go back to the wonders of the Mass. And then October, as we know, is the month of the Holy Rosary. So every year, this is our big kind of hallmark, kind of like this gathering where we have 100, 200 Huynh Trưởng families all get together, and then every day, every other day, we have virtual Rosary where we take turn, different families pray together. And if you haven't yet prayed the Rosary, I highly invite you all to join. Myself, my daughter learned how to pray the Rosary through this, and she loves to do so. And I know many of our young ones, would love to do so. And so that's coming up in October. This is just the old one from last year, but keep an eye out for the new one. It's really a wonderful time, and I haven't seen it done anywhere else where we get 200-300 people virtually come together, young people, that is, to pray the Rosary. Which Evan said earlier, come to Mary, have that relationship with Mary. Okay, all right. So, and as we kick off the academic year, I've talked about the weekly gospel, right, which is a must. We gotta make time for các em to have time, because some parish the priest may not have time to do the homily in English, so a lot of time các em end up missing out understanding. And if as Huynh Trưởng trong đoàn we do not create opportunity for các em to have time to receive the Word of God through that weekly gospel, really we're depriving of các em. So let's make time for các em to do so. And then the other, it's the Wonders of the Mass video series. So early on, I spoke about it already. And if you're sitting here and you're hearing, wow, what is this? We're really behind the curve. This is a wonderful gift that we have for các em. And if you look at it, it's hitting các em on the psychological side. So when they see thiếu nhi colors, they see the uniform, they see their peers, they see young people, they see the khăn the màu that they understand, that pulls in the interest. And then when the priest Vinh breaks down the question to very digestible piece of information, các em truly come to understand, and they see it through the graphics, see it through the picture, and it then reinforces what they learn. If you look at all that video, it is literally just 3 minutes or less, sometimes 3.5 most, but most of the time it's about 3 minutes. It is not a lot of time. And so I know many of us are very creative, so come up with creative ways to get các em to see it weekly, whether it be quiz them during sinh hoạt, or have some pop quiz scenario, or have some competition of some sort. Or like you see in the picture, that before Mass, the Cha Tung Uy literally projected onto the screen and play it for just 3 minutes. And you would know that that's a church where Chaplain does a lot of his videos. It's right here. And so, just 3 minutes. And where các em see it, learn it. And like I said, you can't fall in love with what you don't know. So help các em to grow in love. Let us not be that bridge, but really let us be that bridge rather to bring các em close to Christ. I've seen other creative ways where they do weekly quiz on the oneness of the Mass. They give out prizes. I've seen others who've done scavenger hunt with the oneness of the Mass, and know that this is another key core category of our tournament is on what is presented in the oneness of the Mass. Now, the next one in the Mass, you can go back and start from video 1. You don't have to just start here. Certainly, you can continue on with this week, but you can always go back to video 1 at any time. And I would say this, Huynh Trưởng, yeah, not just put on for các em and then you run away. You too learn it. You too get it. Who knows? At Vedakhu, we may have oneness of the Mass tournament trivia there where all of you can compete and participate. Okay, all right. So that's the last I'm saying with this. Now, if you have các em as a tool to motivate các em, we still have a list of questions that we need volunteers. So if you have any Ấu Nhi, Thiếu Nhi who wants to volunteer, who wants to be in one of the videos and that their parents consent, reach out to us. Reach out to me or Chi Liz, who's on here, and kudos to her. She's been working really hard with the team to kind of put this together. She's on here. I'm sure she'll put in the chat in a minute that you can message her. We're always looking for other faces to pull in the interest. Go các em. Yeah. All right. So that'll be it with the oneness of the Mass. And then, you know, if you look at the VEYM news, right? And so we're exploring many different ways to bring information to you all. And so you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube yet, go subscribe, our Facebook, follow it, and that's where all of our information are posted, or our Instagram. All of those are on there because a lot of the resources are there. And if you don't follow along, you won't know. And if you follow along and you see other sinh hoạt của Phong trà as well, so do so. Or if you look at the most recent news, you want to see your nghĩa sĩ, hiệp sĩ who won the tournament, they're on there. It'll be a good way. I think they love to see themselves on some of these videos. All right, a reminder to all as a service to our members, you know, I know mental health is a concern, or working with children with special needs, or if you yourself are struggling with faith in some capacity, we do have a group of volunteers, priests, religious sisters, medical doctors, psychologists, or others who are standing by to provide support pro bono. All you have to do is reach out, it's confidential. Once we have the information, we have an intake coordinator who receives the information, and then that person then triage that person to all of our volunteers. It is a service for you all. And just know that whatever it is you're going through, you're not alone. You have a whole family here behind you, and we want to be there with you. Okay. All right. Some joy to celebrate as you meet with the parents and talk. Last month, we have a brand new chapter thành lập in the Liên đoàn Đức Mẹ Mông Cổ area, đoàn St. Don Bosco. So kudos to them. And believe it or not, next week, this coming Sunday in Liên đoàn Joan of Arc in Palm Beach, there will be another new đoàn thành lập. So our movement continue to grow. It is also đoàn Don Bosco. I guess it's the time of St. Don Bosco, I guess. So that's happening next week. So please pray for them. All right. So I'm sure many of you are on waiting for this piece. So if you haven't yet attended Vedakhu, or if you just recently become Huynh Trưởng, just kind of think, your Liên đoàn Đại hội, but 10 times bigger, 10 times more. And so this is where we normally have about 1,001 or 1,200 Huynh Trưởng from all around the country who comes together. Here and there, it mutes by itself, I guess. All right, so backtrack a little bit. So Vedakhu, if you haven't been to one, it is really a wonderful time where our Huynh Trưởng family from all over the country comes together. And not only we celebrate the faith, but celebrate the movement, but also to meet one another. Because really, accompaniment and journey together is about relationship. So there'll be about 1,200 Huynh Trưởng from all around the country together. And then our guests from Vietnam, Canada, France, Australia, wherever there's teams in Vietnam, they'll join us as well as invited guests. Historically, we try to do it every 4 years, but because of COVID, now it's becoming 6 years, etc. And so those of you who were around, 2 years ago before COVID, we started. It was in New Mexico. We had to cancel. It was a difficult decision, but nonetheless, we're here. And so let's ramp up our Huynh Trưởng, ramp up các đoàn. So I'm here. I'm excited to announce that it will be at camp. I can't pronounce it, but it's Kalawa. Some of you in the area, you may know it better than I can. But it's our 7th Vedakhu, and it's in High Springs, Florida, in the Liên đoàn Joan of Arc area. And with this particular camp, it will mark our big 40th anniversary. And so 40th anniversary here in the United States. Pretty awesome. So the date, go ahead, jot it down, plan it within your chapter, Liên đoàn chapter agenda. It is August 9th through the 12th, 2024. Those who are in the John Paul II area, Miền Trung, that's after the Đại hội Thánh Mẫu. So we check with all the Liên đoàn. It isn't in conflict with anything. Now, of note, the date is Friday to Monday. Right? Normally, it's Thursday to Sunday, but because of this unique location and availability, it's Friday to Monday. It's still during the summer, so many of you are still off. Teachers, I don't believe that you're back to school yet, and so it'll be a good time for us to have that time together. Families, I'm sure you're going to hit Walt Disney. There are many other tourism attractions there, but the key point is will be our time for us, and they're not that far away. So more to come. I'll meet with Liên đoàn trưởng, and along with Ban Chấp hành Trung ương, we'll start planning, and then you begin to hear more information coming out. Early bird registration, promote an event, agenda, speakers, etc. All of that to come. All right. So that is better go block the date. Rally your team up. It'll be a heck of a mini World Youth Day for us, Huynh Trưởng. Okay. All right. And then along with that, there is this National Eucharistic Congress. This is a big congress, about 20,000 or so Catholics all around the country. Very similar to NCYC, National Youth Catholic Conference, those who've been there. But this is a 3-year movement that's been pushed by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. Our VYM is at the core of this. We are a part of the planning team. We coordinate this as well. And so the date is July 17th through the 21st, 2024 in Indianapolis, in Indiana. All right. So all are invited. Now, if you want to go, do not register yet. OK, because if you register now, you'll be registering at the full rate. So don't register yet. Wait for further communication from us. What we've been able to do is to get a very cheap discounted rate for Tierney only, right? So more to come on that, and free lodging. That is, we're trying to work on that now. Free lodging, it's just think of it as a refugee style, where we're all going to get together in a gymnasium or a basketball court somewhere. Now, keep in mind that's a whole lot better than $300-400 a night in that area, because I know it's costly for that area. So it's several days. So we're gonna work to have our VYM delegation there, and so the goal is to get as many of us there possible, particularly those in that area. So if you are going, you're planning to go, and I encourage you to go. Don't register yet. Wait for further communication from me where you will get a discounted rate, and we'll stay together in a gymnasium together, which I think is a whole lot of fun, kind of like World Youth Day. And then during the Congress, there will be a specific Eucharistic adoration led by VYM, so just us only. I mean, we're leading it for the 20,000 people, but we'll be at the center. All of us will be in uniform. We'll do the Eucharistic procession. Those who attended Joshua, it's sort of similar like that, but to 20,000 people. So really, this is an opportunity for us to kind of, not only live the faith, come together as a community to worship Jesus, but as a tool to evangelize, to help others see the beauty of our movement, and perhaps then other communities can take this and replicate this at their event or at their parish, their community. So just think about 20,000, team of them that will lead Eucharistic procession and adoration. And so it's quite an honor to have Bishop Cousin, who's in charge of this movement, to invite us there. So I think it's telling in terms of where our movement is at. Yeah. So more to come on that. And as you can see here, just a couple of things to highlight, that you can see our VYM is constantly in the news as we're continuing to grow. Really, hopefully that you can take this and inspire yourself, but also help CACAM to grow closer to Christ, and to speak to parish council, the parents, so that they can bring the youth to us that we can do. These are just some of the photos. And if you look at Ave Maria Press, which is a huge Catholic printing company, and when they print books now, if it pertains to young people, they like to get VYM sort of the name on there, and that just speaks to kind of where we're at now in our growth of the organization. And so I'll just end with this. Ultimately, our purpose here is to make holy people, to help all us be holy, to help the youth be holy. And so this just in this last year alone, we had 3 of our Huynh Trưởng ordained priests last year. Actually, Cha Vinh year 2 years ago, we had 3 priests as well. Cha Vinh, Cha Hưng, and Cha Linh, all are Huynh Trưởng. This year, actually, Thiếu Nhi is doing really well. Another 3 priests ordained. We had Cha Evan from San Diego. We had Cha Tung from Oregon, and then we have Cha Peter from Massachusetts. We're able to journey with them and come and celebrate and give thanks. And then on the left, we had Sir I believe Sir Phương Dòng Mến Thánh Giá in California, perpetual vow. And then next to her it's the Mother Superior. She too was a Huynh Trưởng when before her religious life. So it's pretty neat. It's really an exciting time, and also to celebrate. If you recognize, this is Bishop-elect. He's the Tương úy của đoàn Kitô Vô in San Diego, and he is now the Bishop-elect, our 3rd Vietnamese American bishop elected, and I believe his Episcopal consecration is at the end of the month. And so I'm really excited. It's a really exciting time for our Vietnamese church in the United States, but also our movement. And really, a lot of this cannot happen. I'll stress, cannot happen without all of you, các trưởng, as đoàn trưởng, đoàn phó quản trị, các huynh trưởng trong đoàn, journeying with CAM, journeying with your liên đoàn, and journeying with phong trào. And, really together. And really, when you speak to the power of unity, when all of us come together, it's remarkable what we've been able to do. And all of us are all volunteers. And so with that, those are some of the exciting things happening. We look forward to meeting you all, to journeying with you all as we continue on with some of our events coming up. I'll pause there. Any questions, clarifications, or anything at all? I have this recording for this meeting. I'll share it to your liên đoàn trưởng, and then they'll share it with all of you across, and we may post it on Phong Trào as well for those who may have missed it.
And Dương, there are a few
will
questions
this
in
meeting have a
box.
recording? Yes, we do have the recording, and then you can use this information when you host your trợ tá meeting, your Phụ huynh meeting, to kind of help them see some of the jewels of VEYM. All right. NEC, I'm answering question. All right, we see Cha Henry is here. Hello, Cha. Beautiful. We got a couple of questions. Okay, follow Cha Vinh on Instagram, Facebook, Phong Trào on there. Hiệp sĩ love the one of the mass. They said they learned a lot from those. Not just them, I do as well. And I come to grow closer with the mass, with it. And since then, we've been going to mass daily. So I think it's quite a life-changing thing. Is this Thiếu Nhi Wellness Program for Thiếu Nhi too? No, it's only for adults. Okay. It's only for adults because we're dealing with liability issues. So it's only for adults. The NEC, is it for everybody? The National Eucharistic Congress, Joe, it is for everybody. So it's not just adult, it's for all. But in terms of Thiếu Nhi sponsoring, holding an event, we're looking at Huynh Trưởng, but they're welcome to join with everybody. Let's see, who else? All ages. They are expecting 80,000. Kevin, all right, it's not just 20,000, you all, it's 80,000 people at the Congress. I think that'll be cool. All right, anything else? Speaker, chương trình thăng tiến hiệp sĩ trưởng thành. Do we have chương trình thăng tiến hiệp sĩ trưởng thành? So it's yes and no. It's been sort of discussed at the hội đồng lãnh đạo recently, but we'll have to have Ban Như Huống finalize the document and then promulgate that out. So those were some of the changes of the chương trình. So that it's a good thing to come with that, with the hiệp sĩ trưởng thành program. All right. I think that's all the question there. Any other questions?
No, the questions.
Are Huynh Trưởng allowed to go to training Maisen if they are not in Ban chấp hành? Yes. So the answer is yes. Actually, encourage all of you, even if you haven't yet been, go to it, learn it, and then when you come back, at least you're in a better position to do so, and just good knowledge overall. If they go with the certificate count, the Ban Thường Vụ training, yes, of course. So it's good for 5 years. Hope that answers the question. Any other question? All right. Yes, go ahead. For those of you raise your hand. I see Tuan, go ahead. Tuan or chị Tuan, mời chị Tuan.
Dạ, cảm ơn anh. Em định hỏi là nếu mà cái Virtus mình check cái status là của VEYM á.
All right.
Thì
what program do we have for kids psychology program? So for trưởng min, if your youth member, meaning các em ấu nhi, thiếu nhi, are struggling with it, so a couple things. Usually within the school, there's a school counselor program. Within the community, they can utilize it. If they have health insurance, that they can. Unfortunately, we can't provide counseling to các em at this point. We can support our Huynh Trưởng who are adults. We can provide consultation to you so that you can work with các em. But certainly, if it rises to the level where they need professional help, I would recommend they reach out, those in the community. Will hiệp sĩ trưởng thành be allowed to attend về đất hứa? Please stand by for that announcement. We have the answer, but we'd like to sort of convene with the ban tổ chức first before I make that announcement publicly. So there will be a town hall on all về đất hứa related. So you get all your answers for về đất hứa there at that meeting. Okay. So rest assured, there will be a meeting on all về đất hứa where you come, you can get all of your về đất hứa questions answered. Okay. All right. I don't think you can hear us talk. I can't. If you unmute, maybe. With the new term requirement for the required terms who have not yet ended, it's if you've already begun your term, it does not apply to you. It will apply to the new incoming term or the next term that you will start. Oh, actually, you know what? You're right, because my speaker's mute. I'm sorry. You can speak now. All right, there we go. I can hear folks now. Many apologies. All right, anything else? Anything else? Seems like, okay, chị Tú Anh, we can't hear you. Okay. All right.
Can you hear me?
All right, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Sorry. Em định hỏi là nếu mà trong cái vertex á, mình check, mình dùng cái VEYM á, how would the pairs be able to check our status in our background?
Okay, no, right now, please continue to forward it and route it to your parish. Right now, okay. I was just showing that in terms of something that we're moving on, we're working towards. So it's still in development. Right now, I mean, you can forward to two. You can go to VEYM and your parish, but right now, forward them all to your parish. We're working on a system where later on you can forward it there, and then we'll be able to tap into it. But as of right now, still forward to your parish, because your parish is your priority, and then you can secondary send it to VEYM. Okay. Yep. Thank you. All right. Will Father Mike Smith be at về đất hứa? You know what? At the last về đất hứa, I reached out to him. We emailed back and forth. He was not available, but we'll try this year. Yes, so we'll try. Now, whether or not he'll accept or not, it's a different story. Okay, I can't guarantee. But if you have other recommendation, I recommend you all push to your Liên Đoàn Trưởng, because I'm meeting with all your Liên Đoàn Trưởng next to just take in feedback and recommendation as to how we want this về đất hứa to look like. Okay. All right. Any others? And then Trưởng Khánh, anh Thư, Trưởng Hiếu, Lập, if I'm missing anything, jump on in.
And Jung, there's a questions about the PowerPoint that was presented at Maisen.
Yes, so the PowerPoint at Maisen, we'll send it to the Maisen participant, those who've attended Maisen, so they can get it. Because it's getting the PowerPoint without hearing the context of things, it's kind of hard to fully understand. So if you attended Maisen, we can share that with you. There's a VEYM EDU that we're putting on for the virtual class, so that will be on there too. All right, any others? All right, a couple more questions. I have one other quick announcement real quick, and then we'll have our new general chaplain will help us out with the closing prayer and the blessing for all of us. All right. Any other question? Because this is all very good, and I'm glad, and I hope to see you all at the Rosary coming up. Going once.
And you please check your text message.
Text message. All right. Okay, cool. Done. Okay, all right. So reminding us that we're out of time. All right, so thank you. All right, any others? All right, so if not, let me just share one last piece of information here real quick. At the last Sinai Hội nghị gathering, we've also sworn in the new VEYM Huynh Trưởng, the National Academic Committee. They're the one who are responsible for all of the content, the curriculum, and the intellectual knowledge or the academic side of the house for us. And so anh Tô Nguyễn Ngọc Linh, who's our former president, who's been re-elected as trưởng ban nghiên huấn, phó ban is chị Tân Nguyên, those who've known her from Joan of Arc, and then 3 trưởng khối cho đoàn Sinh, huynh trưởng và huấn luyện viên, trưởng Khanh from Seattle, trưởng Phượng from Oklahoma City, and then trưởng Phương from John Paul II area, and the secretary, thư ký của ban nghiên huấn là trưởng Thư from Joan of Arc. And so please say a special prayer for them as well as they continue their new calling to continue to serve Phong Trào further. All right, so with that, got a couple, thank you for exciting, etc. Absolutely. And then know that all of this is really all of us working together. And, you know, I've always shared this before, and I'm going to ask all of you to help as we begin this year in unity, in the spirit of togetherness. Just imagine all 140 chapters pushing out the initiative. If we're getting together for Holy Rosary, or getting KKM to do so, imagine all the 140 chapters plus doing so. Or if we're doing the Holy Huynh contest, right? Imagine all 140 chapters join in. Or during Eucharistic procession somewhere, or adoration, or during Christmas, just whatever it is that we do, just imagine all 140 chapters getting together. You know, you take one chopstick, you break it, it's easy to break. But when you put all 140 chopsticks together, it is unbreakable. And that's what we've been able to do for the last 39 years. And I truly believe that with all of us, all of you together, with God's help, with Mary interceding for us, we'll be able to do so for our big 40th year. So from all of us again, thank you all for your time here tonight. Rồi con xin mời cha Thông cho chúng con lời tâm tình cuối cùng và cũng như lời nguyện và ban phúc lành cho chúng con.
Rồi, cảm ơn cha Vinh. Ngài nói ở lại một chút xíu nhưng mà ngài cũng ở lại to the end. Cha Vinh khi mà vào phong trào lúc 6 tuổi là illegal age phải không? Mà bây giờ ngài còn hiện diện. Còn lúc con vào huynh trưởng là không có proper ways. Cái process nó different, nhưng mà bây giờ cũng là một huynh trưởng. Rồi cảm ơn cha Vinh đã hiện diện với anh em huynh trưởng chúc con trong những giây phút vừa qua. Con tin tưởng lúc nào ngài cũng cầu nguyện cho phong trào. Ngoài cái mình sống lời Chúa và kết hợp với Giêsu nơi bí tích thánh thể, mỗi người chúng ta cũng được mời gọi qua sống lời Chúa và kết hợp với Chúa Giêsu thánh thể. Chúng ta được mời gọi là những nhà truyền giáo, là những người xây dựng nhân bản cho thế hệ trẻ để đóng góp cho một xã hội tốt đẹp. We have mission, we are missionary, and we form the youth leader become the good people whom contribute the good things for the society. Besides, we live the word of God united in the Eucharistic, but we're also the missionaries and the former of our youth leaders. So thank you very much for all of you dedication, your dedication to the movement, để rồi chúng ta cùng đồng hành với nhau trong tâm tình đó. Chúng ta cùng kết thúc cái giờ này qua cái lời cầu nguyện nhé. Nhân danh Cha và Con và Thánh Thần. Amen. Chúa nói ở đâu có 2-3 người tụ họp nhân danh Chúa thì Chúa ở đó. Where there is one or two gathered in Jesus' name, Jesus is in the midst. Chúng ta tin tưởng Chúa đang hiện diện ở giữa chúng ta. Rồi qua sự hiện diện của Chúa, chúng ta được liên kết với nhau. Rồi chúng ta cùng sống cái niềm yêu thương mà Chúa Giêsu đã trao cho chúng ta qua chính cái bí tích mà để lại cho chúng ta là bí tích thánh thể. Và xin Chúa luôn hiện diện ở giữa chúng ta, để qua Chúa chúng ta được liên kết với nhau, để rồi chúng ta mang cái tình yêu của Chúa đến với tất cả mọi nơi, nhất là các trẻ em, thanh thiếu niên trong thế giới hôm nay. Và xin Chúa cho chúng ta được khôn ngoan, Và chúng ta tìm ra nhiều cái phương cách để có thể đến với các em một cách gần gũi, một cách thân thiết, một cách đầy tình yêu thương. Rồi chúng ta cũng xin Chúa cho chúng ta được cái sự bác ái để chúng ta chia sẻ, chúng ta sống với tình yêu thương của Chúa với tất cả mọi người. Và chúng con xin Chúa lắng nghe những lời mà chúng con vừa cầu xin nhờ Đức Giêsu Kitô Chúa chúng con. Amen. Và chúng ta cũng dành ít giây phút. Có lẽ ngày hôm nay chúng ta đã được lãnh nhận mình và máu Chúa qua cái chức thánh thể, nhưng cũng có lẽ nhiều người cũng chưa được lãnh nhận cái chức thánh thể nơi thánh lễ. Thì trong giây phút này chúng ta cũng xin Chúa ngự vào tâm hồn chúng ta một cách thiêng liêng. Lạy Chúa Giêsu thánh thể, con yêu mến Chúa, xin Chúa ngự vào tâm hồn con và ở lại với con luôn mãi. Amen. Chúa ở cùng anh chị em,
Ở cùng Cha.
Và xin Thiên Chúa toàn năng là Cha và Con và Thánh Thần ban phúc lành cho anh chị em.
Amen.
Amen.
Rồi, chúng con xin cảm ơn Cha Thông. Many apologies to have two quick more announcements. Thank you, Ante, reminding real quick. So first is sa mạc chuyên đề Phụng Vụ. I know many of you are interested in not a sa mạc, sort of a seminar on the liturgy. And so Liên đoàn Thánh Gia is hosting October 6th to the 8th. You can get the information on there at their Facebook page as well. And then the other is the next Tiberia. I failed to make that announcement, so thank you, Trịnh Châu, for reminding. So jot this down, and for those of you who are in Đoàn area, to let your Huynh Trưởng cấp 2 in Đoàn, it is May 1st through May 5th. May 1st through May 5th in Arizona, hosted by Liên đoàn Sinai, no other than the cool and amazing Trịnh Châu that Vinh talked about earlier. So it is May 5th. May 1st to May 5th. In Arizona, Liên đoàn Sinai. So that's the announcement. Okay. Very cool. All right, rồi.
Sa mạc Sinai to An Dương, Sa mạc Sinai also, huấn luyện viên sơ cấp.
Yes, so there will also be another Sa mạc Sinai huấn luyện viên sơ cấp. Date yet to be determined. It was first in Houston, but we had to move it around a little bit, and so the new date will come. So those who are cấp 3, keep an eye out for the next sơ cấp training camp. All right, I won't hold you all much longer. On the East Coast, about 10:30, and the West Coast, about 7:30, dinner time. So cảm ơn Cha Thông, cảm ơn Cha Vinh, cảm ơn Cha Henry, and Ban chấp hành Trung ương, Ban Nghiên huấn và tất cả các anh chị hiện diện nơi đây. Have a most blessed night. Good to see you all.
Good night all.
Good night cha, good night các trưởng.
Good night cha, các trưởng.